How's it going, everybody? Comic book artist and writer Will Robson here, coming back at you with another portfolio review. If you'd like to get your portfolio reviewed by me, you can head to my Patreon, patreon.com/Will Robson, and I can review your portfolio. We got another little review today from a new member of the Patreon. His name is Elliot, and he's handed in 2 pages that we're going to review. Before we do that, I just want to go over some basics like I do every single time, which is just these quick little tips to boost your art immediately. We'll start with focus with values. This is the idea that basically you can draw your eye's attention to something if you have a drastic change in values. So you see that there's black here, and then there's white here. These are on the opposite sides of the values chart, so your eye really gets drawn to those areas. If you look here, he's solid black where everyone else is white and gray, so you're looking directly at him. Same with Venom, we're looking directly at Venom, and then there's lots of black here, gray, but then there's little black here, makes us look at Batman. So that's just a very easy way to draw your eye using values. The next one is background, middle ground, foreground. Super important stuff. This is to add dynamic stuff to your work. Just have basically something in the extreme foreground, something in the middle, and something in the background. You can see it here where everything that's dark here is the extreme foreground. The gray is the middle ground, and then even this one has slightly light gray as the background, and then white as the full background. So here's some examples from film. This right here is a perfect example of what you want for comics. Same with this. Put people as close as possible to the quote-unquote camera or the reader, because comic books is all about cranking everything up to 11. So just try and push the boundaries of what you're drawing to the extreme, and that really helps. So there's that one. And then finally, which is the most easiest one, the rule of thirds. This is such an easy technique to completely improve the just the composition of your work. Basically, you break every panel into an even 9-panel grid like this, and you want something of focus to be in wherever these intersect. It's just such a great way of placing your characters, but also it's just a great place to place stuff when you're making a comic book, because with this technique, the letterer can come in here and add, the speech bubbles in all of this empty space. The amount of people that I see starting comics not leaving space for balloons is ludicrous. What you should really be doing in the rough stage of drawing is adding in like little speech balloons, so that you know where they're going to go, because it's immediately amateur if there's no room for speech balloons. You got to remember that they are a part of the art too. There's other ways you can do it. You can have something focused in the center. You could have objects on 2 different focus parts of it. This is a great example right here of basically having it on one intersection, but we've got extreme foreground, middle ground, and background. So this is like the perfect comic book panel right here. And then the speech bubble will probably be here or here and stuff like that. So that's basically an easy way to make your comic books immediately better. So I'm trying to say this every single time I make one of these videos, because I think it's something that's super important, and if you just add it to your work immediately, then you will already look like you know what you're doing a bit more. Okay, so let's move on to Elliot's work here. So Elliot just joined the Patreon, and we're going to take a look at his work here. So I think we have some sort of Robin page. Is this page 2, or I think this might be page 1, actually. Okay, so off the bat, it's from what I see from this is that there's a couple problems here. This right here is a problem. You shouldn't have panels just touching each other like this. There's a reason why panel gutters exist, is that it breaks up the page. Also, your panel gutters are a little bit all over the place, but I mean, I do that with my work. The best person to look at that is someone like Greg Capullo. He's a master at pushing panels all around the page, and Tom McFarlane, just making it interesting. But you don't want this. You also don't want this. You don't want, if you're going to have a panel pop out, you would rather have it like here. And so then this panel continues here, and then that one can continue there. Because the fact that these 2 touch here it makes a very very bad image. So try and avoid that. Now, I've gone ahead and already put the rule of thirds over this just to see what we're working with to show how we can make this better. So immediately with this, again thinking about speech bubbles, I would take this Robin here. And here's the options that you can do. Before my... Oops. We're recording this live, people, so no editing. So I would immediately either put him down here, or you can have him here, or you can have him here. This is quite nice here, so maybe Robin like this. And the only thing I would say about this is that it's quite a boring image of Robin. To spice it up a little bit, you know, again, you think about that middle ground, foreground, background. You could have like he's on a rooftop, so you can have, you know, maybe in the background like a water tower or something like that, or like a crane or something, or just buildings in the extreme foreground, and then maybe do some forced perspective here. He's sort of sitting, so maybe we stick his arm more in the foreground and a knee sticking out in the foreground as well, just so that we're playing with a bit of forced perspective. That's probably another rule I should add to my golden rules for comics, because yeah, forced perspective is something that immediately makes your work look more impressive. It's just a lot harder to do. So I pushed that. You can see here that he is basically in this focus here. You probably just want to basically, with this panel, just move it down like that. And then actually move him down. And then move the car up a bit. So that we have two focus points going on at the same time here. We're focusing on him, and we're focusing on the car, because they're in both those intersections, which obviously really helps. And then this panel is a bit of a mess here. It's also just basically a repeat of this panel. So you don't want panel 1 and panel 2 to basically be the same thing. It's pretty uninteresting, so I think that if you were going to redo this, this would have to be a much more dynamic panel. Maybe and you the thing as well is that you've got every shot you're choosing to do in this is a straight on shot, and this is another golden rule, I guess, is camera variety. And when I say camera, you know, there's no actual camera, but sometimes it's easier to talk about this in the idea that you're filming this, because it just means it's just easier to say the language. I went to film school as well, so that it resonates to me that way. So I would probably, for this, is since we have, well, this big panel thing down here, I'd probably have like the car down here, and then a forced perspective of Robin sitting like this, and we're just we're looking down and everything. And here's a great thing as well, is that we can use the perspective to draw focus to the car. So if we have the perspective going like this, we can make it so that basically all of the lines on this building are going to be pointing at the car. So, and Robin's looking this way, so we know exactly where to look here. And then to spice this up a bit more, I would have, you know, like a lamp here or something like that, just to really bring it more into the foreground. You could even go harder with, like, you know, some sort of raven up here or something. Or if you want to be, you know, wanky, you could have a robin. So it's like Robin and Robin looking around. I don't know if robins are local to Gotham. This is comic book, so come on, have Robin's cape blowing in the wind. Add that dynamic stuff to it. So you have the car down here. He's watching the car. And then I wouldn't just do a straight building like this. You know, bring some indents into it. You can have a little awning, like it's a marketplace. Put things on the street like trash cans and rubbish, and try and fill as much of the drawing as possible. Now thinking about values, since the thing is that you have open line art here, so you're obviously not considering really your values too much, besides maybe this Robin down here because he's like fully black. So thinking about this, if there's a street lamp here, you can have the street lamp and I'm talking about the street lamp here, you can have it sort of framing the car like that, and even framing the walls like this. And then there will obviously be a car shadow from the car. And then Robin would be underlit from it because this lamp is actually lower than Robin. So he would be mostly in shadow. And he'd be lit from reflective light from below anyway. So I think that makes it a bit more interesting. I would actually probably, looking at this panel, it's a bit too close up. I'd probably make it a bit smaller. So I think that sort of makes a more interesting panel here. Also, speaking of adding dynamics, I don't think you actually fully need Robin here, drawn like this. And by the way, if you hear any snoring in the background, it's just my French bulldog. She's sleeping in my lap. To add range here, I'd probably make Robin a lot bigger. You could even have him popping out the page if you really wanted to add something interesting. I just try and just make, this stuff as interesting as possible. Also, this, instead of doing a straight on view for this panel, what I would probably do is reverse of the other panel. So I would have, if we were doing our 3-point perspective, I'd have a little Robin up here looking and chatting. And then I'd have like an extreme close-up of the car's window, like this or something like that. Whatever the perspective we choose is. And then his cape is still blowing in the wind. And then in the background, I'm a sucker for a water tower. I think they're easy to draw and they're like dynamic. So I'd have like a water tower back there. If you look at my work on Teenage Ninja Turtles, I chuck water towers and everything. And then I would not put any buildings like right behind him because it would clutter him. I would put buildings sort of around him and keep this negative space here, so that our eyes can focus on Robin. And this would probably be mostly in shadow, because basically anything that's in the extreme foreground is always zoomed in. The only problem is that we've established that the light source is hitting the car from here. So I guess I wouldn't do the light like that. I guess I would do it like this. I'd probably, yeah. So I think that just makes that page a little bit more dynamic. I hope that helps with that. I'm just going to say off the bat, your inks are way too thick. It looks like you're inking with like a Sharpie or something like that. If you look at the way other things are inked, I'll just show you. Right now, I'm in the middle of doing a Killing Joke homage. If you look at my inks, they're super thin. I think the thinner the inks, the better. It just makes stuff look great. This is just too thick, so it makes it look more amateurish and it's harder to read. There's nothing wrong with thick lines. You look at someone like John Romita Jr., has lovely thick lines. It's just about knowing how to use them. And that's all that's going to take is practice and study. All right, let's look at the other page here. So you got some lettering going on this page. I also went ahead and did the rule of thirds here. This lettering, you shouldn't have letter bubbles leaving the panels. It looks really messy, okay? They should be inside the actual thing. So this, he would be saying it here. Father signal is gone. No track or a heartbeat, that would be here. Also, the letters would be much smaller than this. The easiest way to figure out how big your letters should be is just look at your favorite comic book, like digitally, and then take a snapshot of that page and then put it into your drawing program and stretch it to the right dynamics, and then you'll see how big you need to do your lettering. Also, speaking of dynamics, it looks like, I don't know what page size you're drawing. It looks like you're almost drawing this at a manga size. If you see all the white around my drawing here, this is the regular size for drawing a comic, which is an 11 by 17 basically. You can see my measurements up there. I do 176 by 266 millimeters, only because that's how I print my comics. But yeah, you don't want these thought bubbles sticking, these speech bubbles sticking out like this. It's no good. So this guy's speech bubble will be up here, and then you'd have to move this above him and move this whole entire panel down. Again, the way you've laid out your what's it called? Why can't I think of the word? Panels, my goodness, just woke up. The way you've laid out your panels on this page, again, there's too much of a gap here. This one isn't as bad, like, but I would, like, if you're going to do a funky shape like this, you got to have some of these panels overlapping. Just, again, look at Tom McFarlane, look at Greg Pillow, really study the way that they do their panel edits. They do really dynamic stuff, so that is one thing to do. So I'm guessing this is Robin's point of view of, like, calculating the car or something, or is it the road? Or that, oh, are you signaling that the guy's gone? Is he leaving, like, right here? Is that what's going on? I'm not sure what's going on this panel, so I can't really do a draw over it. So that is a problem because I'm very unclear of what is happening. Also, like, I feel like those speech bubbles should be on this panel then, right? Because he's saying, like, Father, he's gone here, and then so, like, you can have those speech bubbles going over that imagery. Don't handwrite the speech bubbles. Use font. There's amazing font out there. Comic Craft, I think, is the name of the font company. They do industry standard comic book fonts that I use, and you can read in your regular comic books off the shelves. So let's see here. The flow of your page is absolutely fine here. This is the Z flow. So my eye is following here. It goes to Robin's face, and then I go down to this guy's eyes, who's looking this way, and he's also looking this way. So that's fine. Robin here, if you can see the rule of thirds, if you let's take Robin. If you just put him either here or in the center, you could do a center. I think center would look nice. Center here, then it immediately looks more dynamic. The guy in the chair, I don't mind this panel, the way you've laid it out, because of the eye flow. I kind of like it actually a wider shot, so we get an establishing shot of where he is. So just put him on where the rule of thirds crosses over, like here. It's not that big of a deal. And then, like we said, with this panel, it should be down here. And then this, basically, I would keep the panel big. I would just have it. So this is the rest of the panel here. And then you can fit all of the lettering in here as he speaks. That's fine. Maybe have him tilted down a bit, his body, instead of just straight on. And he was holding his coffee in the other one, so you could have him holding his coffee still here, or even taking a sip as well, just to spice it up a little bit. Again, there's no values really being used on this page. It's completely open line, so it'd be up to the colorist to do the values, which is totally fine. Look at my work when I first started working for Marvel. I had no idea what the hell. If you asked me what the value was, I would have said, what, that's how much it costs? No, I had no idea. So never feel discouraged that you don't know something. The whole point of art is that you're continuously a student. You're continuous learning. I have so much to learn. You know, the goal of me to even be teaching you stuff right now, not being the most amazing artist in the world, but that's the way art works. So, so this is all right. The other thing maybe is looking at, I'd say this is probably the best panel you've drawn so far. The other thing I would say is I would add maybe he's middle ground, this is background. So you can add, like, I don't know, maybe another monitor right here or something like that in the extreme foreground. Or maybe even another one here or something. Just to spice up the range of the dynamics. Or, I don't know, if you got a coffee, maybe the coffee machine is in the foreground here or something like that. Just to spice it up a bit. Now, I haven't talked anything about, obviously, your skills in drawing, because I can clearly see that you have a lot to learn, and I don't mean anything negative by that. I just mean, like, you know, when it comes to actually drawing, you know, this, like, for instance, this is way too short here. This would have to be longer. This hand is way too big and janky. His butt completely disappears. His butt would be here, so the seat's too tall. I don't know what's going on with this arm here. This is a very, you've not given me any 3D objects here. Besides this is the only thing that's telling me this is three-dimensional. You're making it so that Robin here, the outline on him is the same thickness as the background. Basically, everything whatever's closest on the panel should be thickest, and whatever's furthest away on the panel should be thinnest in terms of line weight. Like you have like thin line weights on his face, but then you have like thick line weights and everything else. It's just a mess, but that's fine. Like I said, I can tell that you are new to this. It's something that needs to be worked on, and that's what we're here to do. My thing right now is that this is all coming across very fat. This just looks like not a three-dimensional ball. This to me just looks like a flat surface. So you need to work on your three-dimensional objects. The best book for that is Figure Drawing, Design and Invention by Michael Hampton. That book changed my life. I'll say that again slower. Figure Drawing, Design and Invention by Michael Hampton. For me personally, it's the book I recommend always on how to draw anatomy and figure drawing, but I also super recommend How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way by Stanley and John Buscema. Such a great way of learning and looking at characters as three-dimensional objects and getting the real basic grips of how to draw comic books. So hopefully that helped you, Elliot. Again, if you're watching this and you'd like your portfolio to be reviewed to help you get a little bit better, then you can head to my Patreon, patreon.com/Will Robson. Also, shout out to my comic books that are coming soon. These are comic books that I write and draw myself. Outbreaks issue 4 is coming April 3rd, so you can scan the QR code for that, or you can just search Will Robson on Kickstarter, and you should see all my projects coming up. Please check that out. I'm really hoping for a big launch of that. I've got the amazing Alex Cormack drawing it, which you can see his amazing art here. And then the other thing I have launching is Mobster Mash issues 3 and 4. That is coming in October. I'm currently drawing Mobster Mash issue 2. I can actually show you a quick preview of that. Let's see. Oh, apparently I can't. I thought it was in my recently opened, but it's looking good, and I'm putting way too much detail into it. But that's the whole point of this book. So again, thank you very much, and I will see you on the next one.